Yoga can be traced back to India 5,000 years ago, and it's still being practiced today around the world. This month is dedicated to its physical and mental benefits. And Pitt professor Dr. SHerman is here to share more about what she's discovered in her research. I'm so glad you're here. I think this is so neat. I have never met a yoga researcher before.
Well, I didn't either. That's why I went and became one.
Yeah. Well, this is so interesting because you said that you were in dance. That was your background. And this was kind of like a natural progression for you.
Yeah, I studied dance my whole life and worked in dance for, like a decade and a half, and discovered yoga as a way to heal my body from all of those years of dance.
Yeah.
And started noticing that the yoga research was really lacking, and that it was obvious to me that yoga teachers and practitioners didn't really have a seat at the table in yoga research. So I went back and got my PhD, started back at 35, defended like at 39, and so that I could be of service and contribute to the yoga research.
So tell me, what kind of work goes into researching yoga?
Well, I'm a professor at Pitt in health and human development, and I teach exercise science majors at Pitt. And in my spare time, I also engage in research at the university and collaborate across the university, other departments, other schools, in order to get to some of these things that we don't know about yoga.
So let's talk about some of the benefits, some of the things that you've discovered and what you teach some of your students.
So we sort of think of yoga in this country as the physical practice of yoga, which is 1/8 of the parts of yoga, but there are also other meditative parts. We have the important breathing parts. So my research originally looked at yoga as a form of physical activity because it wasn't really included in the physical activity guidelines. But anyone who's done yoga knows this is absolutely physical activity. This is not easy.
It's not easy.
It's very accessible, but it's not easy work. And so my original study validated vinyasa yoga in particular, which is just one way of doing yoga, as a moderate form of physical activity.
Well, and that's the thing. There are so many different types of yoga.
Yes.
Do you know how many there are?
I mean, I've seen memes that have hundreds of them. So there are many different styles. And I think of it being like a yoga spectrum. So there are more restorative styles of yoga, all the way down the spectrum of like more rigorous styles of yoga.
We're looking at some pictures now. Did you lead this?
Yes.
This is at PNC Park.
Yes.
Is this an annual thing?
It is.
Yeah.
We've even done it more than once a year in some years. So this is a collaboration between the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I'm one of the co-creators of this class, and we've done it in different months of the summer and into the fall. So we invite people to come. We've sort of referred to it as Ohms in the Outfield or Yoga Day at PNC Park. And it's just a chance for people to come on to the outfield and practice yoga. It's a very restorative class. It's a very gentle class, really meant to bring the city together and people together and into the outfield.
So we talked about some of the physical aspects of yoga and using it as exercise, but there was also, as you mentioned, that's just 1/8 of it. So talk about some of the other parts of yoga.
Right, so yoga has a lot of mental benefits as well, really seen and used in smoking cessation, in sort of teaching you things on the mat that you then take off of the mat that changes other health behaviors that you make. So there's a mindfulness practice in practicing yoga that just goes along with the practice. And so we see mitigation in depression and anxiety and stress. So it's a really great tool.
It's awesome. Okay, and so you're going to show me, I'm so excited, some moves. I know a couple, but it's been a while since I practiced yoga. So we're going to come over to the mats. You brought a couple of mats, and I love this. Again, I'm getting a little workout here midday.
We won't work you too hard.
And I'll kick off my shoes here.
Yes, me
Maybe
too.
it'll make it easier.
Well, I'm really interested to show how even one yoga pose has lots of different ways of doing it.
Okay.
So we call those modifications. So yoga can really be accessible for lots of people. So we'll do a crescent lunge pose. So bring your right foot forward toward the front of the mat, your left foot back, and all 10 toes are pointing forward. Kind of bend that back knee, reach your arms up in the air.
Okay.
Now bring your hands to your heart center. Another way to do this pose is to drop your back knee down to the floor.
Don't fall down.
So that makes it more accessible. We'll take this pose into a twist, so you can take your left elbow over to your right thigh. But another way to do this, you can go ahead and take your left hand to the floor and right arm up overhead.
Oh, I
so
love
just
that.
a simple pose like that, lots of different ways to get lots of bodies into the pose. So you could even do that pose with the use of a chair.
If you needed to.
Yes, if you needed to, or holding on to the wall, or holding on to sort of a prop to help you into the practice.
Will you show me one more?
Yeah, let's do tree pose.
Okay.
So sort of a quintessential yoga pose. So we'll sort of start with the bare bottom of the pose, sort of the modification. Kind of take your right foot to the inside and bring your hands to your heart center. So this would be a modified way to do that pose. You can go ahead and take that foot up into the inner calf, and you could even take that foot up into the inner thigh to sort of take the fullest extent of that pose, or reach your arms up in the air.
This tree is falling over.
Very good, very good. But people who are having issues with balance or just having an off day can go ahead and take that foot down, sort of make a kickstand. So that's just a way to take a balancing pose and make it more accessible for lots of bodies.
And we're doing this very quickly, but you would be breathing and working muscles that maybe you wouldn't necessarily think of to hold that foot in place.
And you're taking the cues into your body and breathing and, you know, taking your body a certain way. You don't have space to worry about life off of the mat. So that makes it a very mindful practice.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to your next, what did you say, Ohms on the outfield?
Yeah, and Yoga Day at PNC Park. So follow Pirates for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on today. Namaste. Coming